Guys, welcome back. It is July 25th, 2023. This is going to be collection vlog number 15. I don't know if 15 is basically a milestone or not. I'm going to say it is because I've done 15 of these suckers. That's pretty good. I'm using a new phone right now, guys. It doesn't have a case on it, so it's kind of hard to grip it. So if it seems shaky, I'm really sorry. I need to get something to hold this. This is kind of silly. I need to up my game a little bit. Anyway, let's talk about collections. I haven't done a vlog in a month, so I'm going to bring you guys up to speed. Last month for June, I did really well, earned my bonus, put that in the bank, so I was happy about that. This month, I carried that momentum into July. I got a really, really good start. I've been super consistent this month. I've been watching my figures every day, and I've been getting anywhere from 8 to 10 resolutions a day. And I keep track of everything in this little notebook, man. And I know it seems silly to do this, but it's important to me to track my results. And the reason I do that is by tracking my results, I can challenge myself day to day to get better, to push myself further. Because when the month is over, I can just pick this thing up and just go through it, and I can determine what I've been doing on a regular basis. It helps motivate me. It helps me modify my behaviors on the phone and helps to push myself further so that I can be successful. Last month it was really good for me, and I did a few key things to ensure that I was going to hit. And most of my production happened, believe it or not, the critical production in the last 3 days of the month. I really got super busy in the last 3 days of the month. I started closing a high volume of accounts, and as a matter of fact, I think on the last day, I believe I did like 15 resolutions that day, which was amazing on the last day, and it just catapulted me into second level for my commissions, which was awesome. It actually started making me think a little bit. Is like not much has changed in the collection game. I mean, the technology's better. We have the internet, for God's sakes. We can work with. There's no phone on my desk, as you can see. Everything is virtual now, so it's gone by leaps and bounds. The way this whole collection industry has evolved is just amazing, and I've seen it evolve. The good thing is for me, I'm not old enough to say I've worked without a computer because I mean, when I started, we had terminals. I guess you couldn't call it a PC. There were terminals, and I had a phone on my desk. I had a monitor on my desk, which the screen was probably as big as the laptop, but the back of it was huge. But anyway, it was my desk, and I loved it. So I started with something very remedial like that, and then as things progressed, we got the flat screens, and we got these arms that can go up and down, so I can stand up and work. And I just saw all these cool things happening, and now we're at this point, where we have all these tools. But one thing I could say, getting back to the whole point of this, is that last minute heroics have been a part of collections for as long as I can remember. I've pulled that out in the last day more times than I'd care to count. Do I like to collect that way? No. I like to have my month done with at least 4 or 5 days to spare. If I could do that, I know I've done something right. If I'm already at goal and there is almost a week left in the month, you have done really well for yourself. And now you have an opportunity to really put icing on the cake. If you're hitting at the last day of the month, it's cool. I mean, you're going to get your commissions, but the problem is that maybe you've sold yourself a little bit short. And I noticed my behaviors changed in the last 3 days, meaning my phone call count was really, really good. And I was really getting a lot of contacts in the last 3 days, which was awesome. And so what I did was I took that momentum and I carried it in July. So my resolutions have been really good. So for example, today was really good because yesterday I only resolved 6 accounts. So I was like, oh man, I only got six. 6 isn't the end of the world, but I went from averaging 10 to dropping to 6. So I was like, oh man, that's not good. So today, when I started working, I had emails immediately from people that I had been calling or emailing, excuse me, through the last couple of days. And then I got hot on the phone. I got some good contacts. Ended up resolving 14 today, which more than made up for yesterday. So that was really good. So I was really stoked about that. Let's talk about a few things about last minute heroics, though. I'm going to go back. Let's go way back. I had two really good friends that worked with me, and we were on the same team. There was 8 of us, and one guy's name was Ty, and one guy's name was Franzo. Love these guys. We're still friends today. I've kind of lost contact with Franzo, but with Ty, we're like best of friends. We became really good collectors together. We came up together, became supervisors together, managers together, and then ultimately we went off to different companies. But anyway, these two guys, they would always hit me up the last couple days of the month. They'd be like, "Hey, listen, can you help me, man? I'm short. I need about 3 or 4 more resolutions." We used to call them accounts in the billing. I need 3 or 4 more accounts in the billing. Sometimes they would need like 10. It was always like this number. They were so close, but they just couldn't get over that edge. And I remember one time in particular, let's talk about Ty for a second. Ty looked at me, it was the last day of the month. He goes, "Hey man, I'm gonna need you to help me. If you can help me, dude, I'll take you to Burger King, get you a burger or whatever." And I was like, "All right, man, I'm gonna help you." And it was in the morning, and I was still working my own accounts. I was actually working towards my own personal goal. And he's like, "Dan, are you gonna help me?" And I go, "Yeah, man, I'll help you." And first break came, he's like, "Hey man, are you gonna help me?" And I go, "Yeah, dude, I told you I'm gonna help you." And then we got to lunch. He goes, "Man, are you gonna help me or not?" He was starting to get frustrated. I go, "I'm gonna help you, dude, as soon as we get back from lunch." And so we came back from lunch. I'll never forget this. This is really funny. And he goes, "All right, I got all these accounts working." And he was bringing out all the stuff he wanted me to look at. And I told him, I said, "Just wait a minute." I said, "Do me a favor. Just give me all your contact sheets." And what the contact sheets there was a tracking sheet that would fill out every single day. And you would just write down the account number, the guy's name, and then the result of the phone call. And so you had to keep a contact sheet every single day. We weren't that automated yet, so you had to keep a contact sheet. So I told Ty, I said, "Just give me all your contact sheets for the month." And he goes, "Is that all you need?" I go, "Yeah, just give them to me." And I sat down with him, and I put the contact sheets in front of me, and I go, "Okay, dude, so I'm going to go through all of these contacts. I don't need a summary of all these. I don't need to know what's working. Let's just go through these as quickly as possible." Now, remember, we had about 4 hours to go, and I think we needed 8. If I'm going to guess, I believe it was 8. That was a pretty good number. To get 8 accounts in the billing in one day, that's a good day. I mean, let alone to get 8 accounts in the billing in 4 hours. So I said, "All right, give me your contact sheets." And I started from day one of the month. And I started looking at everybody he contacted that he did not resolve. And I just simply started calling them, calling them, calling them. And you know what? My strategy with all those calls was exactly this. I'd get the debtor on the phone and I'd let them know, "Hey, this is Dan with ABC Company." They'd be like, "Yes, how can I help you?" "You talked to an associate of mine earlier this month." "Yeah, unfortunately, it looks like you didn't resolve your account. Let me tell you some options I can provide you right now because we do need to get this done today. This is the last business day." And a lot of them were like, "Okay, what do I need to do?" And I said, "I need you to take out your checkbook. I need to do A, B, and C." And it was just one after another, after another, after another. And we were just knocking them down. And by the end of the day, we got all 8 of them. And I gave him his contact sheets. I go, "Here you go, dude. You're all set." And he was like, "I can't believe you did that." And it was weird because, when you look at it from his perspective, he worked all month long and he could not get those last 8. Now, mind you, our goal was probably like 30 accounts in the billing, something like that. And he had, less than 30. You'd probably have like 22. So he needed 8. And we got 8 of them all in one day. And really, here's how that happens. When you're talking to a debtor, you always want to lead them towards resolution. That is the most critical part of your phone call. You never want to just chit chat with them, beat around the bush, and not get to your point. You've got to push all that aside. All the fear and doubts that you have that you're going to upset the person, that they're going to hang up on you, you got to push that aside for a minute. And you have to concentrate on, what is my objective? I need to get an account in the billing. And for us, it wasn't a lot of money. I mean, I think they had to be paying 1% of what they owed. I think that was the minimum. So if the guy owed, $2,000 on a student loan, he didn't have to pay that much. And we're only talking like, $20, but it wasn't that low. I think our minimum payment was like $50. You had to get at least $50 or 1%, whichever was higher. So it was easy. You just had to get them to make payments. And I'll tell you what the payments were about in a second. But getting back to my point though, is I had to lead them right to that resolution. This technique followed me and I used it for years. I would use it for myself, obviously. And anytime anybody asked me to help them, I did exactly the same thing. I didn't discuss with the debtor any of their challenges. I didn't discuss with the debtor what happened in previous calls. I didn't discuss with the debtor their hardships. I just pushed that aside. And I said, listen, here's where here's where we are, here's where we need to be. This is what I can do to get you there. That's it. When you get down to the last couple of days of the month, the negotiating part is now going to be shortened. Now you got to get to the point because you don't have any more time left. You've got to close the deal. The issue that collectors have is it's early in the month and they look at the calendar, for example, and they go, man, I've got all kinds of time. This guy can call me next week, doesn't matter. I can get that one in a couple days, blah, 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 blah. And that's okay. But realistically, it isn't, because every time I make a contact with that guy, my objective is exactly the same. I've got to bring him from this point to this point. I've got to take him from a non-payer to a resolution. That is exactly all I'm focusing on all my calls. So it's, lack of a better term, leading a horse to water, leading a horse to drink. Because you can't get there if you are wishy-washy and you're not getting to the point. You've got to tell them what your objective is. Sometimes the conversation with the debtor is going to go south. So in other words, they're going to be talking about every single thing that caused them to become delinquent. So let's say we're talking about a student loan, for example, and you're talking to him about a student loan. He's going to tell you, the school I went to was a joke. They promised me that they were going to help me get a job. All they did was get the loan, and this paper's worth nothing. Or they'll tell you, I'm unemployed. I haven't worked for several months. I don't have any money. I'm barely making my house payment. You're going to hear all of these challenges, and that's okay because we all have the same challenges. So it's not a problem. But it's what you say regarding the challenges. Now, once they've spun a little bit, I've got to say, you know what? I can appreciate everything you're going through. As a matter of fact, you're not alone. Otherwise, I wouldn't have hundreds of people to call. You're definitely not alone. And I've been in your shoes. I've definitely been on the other end of this phone. I know what it's like to struggle. I said, so here's what we're going to need to do with your student loan. We've got to come up with a plan that's going to help you resolve the account and remove it from default. And I would start leading them back to the resolution. So when I did student loans, there was two different ways, well, really three different ways we can resolve them. They could simply just pay it. That would be the easiest way to do it. There was student loan consolidation, and that is where we would basically get the account refinanced under the consolidation program, which would restore it back to current status. Or we would rehabilitate the loan, meaning they made payments for a year, and then they lowered that requirement to 9 months, I believe. And so if they made payments for 9 months to a year, it would wipe the default off their record. So there was all these different incentives that we could use to assist students to clear up their student loans. That's why we didn't have to get large payments. All we had to do was talk to them, qualify them for a reasonable payment plan, and get them squared away and set up. So for me, that's all I would be focusing on when I was talking to my debtors. I would let them know, listen, you're in default. You could lose your tax returns. Your wages can be garnished. There's a lot of negative aspects to allowing your loan to just sit here, not to mention the fact that it's just accruing interest. Why don't you let me help you? So for example, I can rehabilitate your student loan. All that's really going to take is I just need to determine a reasonable and affordable monthly payment for you. As long as that payment meets the criteria, I'll set you up on that payment, allow you to make those payments for 9 months, and guess what? Your student loan is going to come out of default. Once it comes out of default, there's going to be no more negative reporting on your credit report, which is awesome. You'll be eligible for financial aid again, and you have no danger of losing your tax returns. So as you can see, I'm using this enthusiasm with the person, and I'm explaining it to them so they understand what the hell I'm talking about. I'm just making it very simple. And that is the key when you're talking any type of collections you do. Think about all of the objections that they had, and then think about all the incentives they have to pay. And then it's up to you to sell that to that debtor. Because if you're flat on the phone and you're just speaking in general terms and you're not getting to the point, you're going to struggle. And I've talked about that in previous collection videos, several times. You've got to get to your point. You got to take control of the phone call. You've got to dictate the pace of the phone call. And that does not mean being a jerk. And I can't express that enough because I've been the jerk, and I got results. But when I changed it up and became more customer service in a sense, more sensitive to their needs and a better listener, my results started to really, really go high. And I said this before too, if I can go back to the 90s and early 2000s and redo what I did with the skill level I have now, oh my goodness, I would have made $100,000. It's just there's a big difference with how you're speaking to people now versus how I spoke to people back then. So keep that in mind. Also, today I had a really good, let's get to another subject. I had a really good skip tracing moment today I was going to share with you guys. So I'm looking at an account, and he's been assigned to me. He was assigned to me at the beginning of the month. And I looked at it, and I have called the cell number or business number for this guy. There's only one phone number. I think it's his business. I called that phone number probably 10 times, and there's been no result. There's no email on the account, so I've been unsuccessful with emailing him. I couldn't email him. There's been no phone calls that have even led to a voicemail. And I look at that account and I go, you know what, it's low balance, whatever, next. And I went to the next one. And I did that too much. So today, when that account popped up, I looked at it and I thought to myself, okay, slow down for a second. Let me see what I can do with this guy because I need to get this contact. I need to resolve an account. So what I ended up doing was I first did a reverse search on the phone number that he had utilizing the True People search. It provided no match. I did a reverse search on the address that he was residing at. It provided no match. So I'm like, okay, so something is weird. This address is probably not valid, and I don't know where that phone number goes. So I go, you know what? I could see the name of his business because he's a business owner. So I Googled the name of his business, and there was at least 10 different matches for that business name. And I go, okay, that's a little bit broad. So I put the city and state that I believe that business to be in. That narrowed it down. And I found 3 matches. When I went in there, I go, well, it's the same phone number on the account. So I clicked on the link to go to their website. When I went to their website, nothing. There was just nothing there. And I go, damn, this guy's a ghost. So I went back to Google and I looked at the second listing for the business. When I saw the second listing for the business, there was one phone number off to the side that had no area code on it. And I was thinking, what is that? What is that phone number? So I took that phone number and I utilized the area code that would be in the same city and state that this guy's business was in. When I called it, a guy answered the phone immediately, and I thought, oh, wow, here we go. And I asked for him. I'm not going to say his real name. Let's just call him Mike Smith. And I said, hey, is Mike Smith there? The guy goes, well, no. But he paused, and I go, let me ask you this. You know Mike Smith, don't you? And he goes, yeah, that's my dad. Boom. I knew I was in the right place at that time. And then here's what I did. Now, it's important not to get pushy, but I know that I got one shot at this guy. He's a third party. I cannot call him back after this. So I basically told him this. I said, can you help me out with something? He goes, yeah. I go, listen, my name's Dan. I work for ABC Company. He goes, yeah. I go, I really hate to bug you, but I've been trying to call your dad. And I've been calling him on the last 4 digits. I said, I've been calling him on this number ending 1234. And he goes, oh, yeah, you're not going to get hold of him there. That's like the office phone. And I go, awesome. What's his cell number? I said it exactly like that. He goes, oh, hold on a minute. He got a new cell phone. So he puts me on hold for like 2 minutes. He comes back on the line. He goes, here's the phone number. And he gave it to me. Now, here's the important part. The way you ask for the information, and we talked about this probably 5 videos ago, is really, really super critical. I didn't ask him, do you have his cell number? Or would you happen to have his cell number? Because that's dumb. He's going to say no. You have to ask the question assuming that this guy has what you need. That's why I said, hey, what's his cell number? And he just rattled it right off. I said, awesome. And I told him, what's the address that he's at? Because I think this is the business address. And boom, he rattled off his address. And I go, ooh, that's a new address. I put that in there. And I go, okay, so if all else fails and I can't get hold of him here, can I email him? And he goes, yeah, here's his email address. So I went from like a bad address, a phone number that went pretty much nowhere, to new address, new phone, new email address. So immediately I thought to myself, let me update the address. So I update the address and I go, should I email him or call him? I go, hell, I'm going to call him. So I called him. Boom, guy answers the phone. And he says to me, he goes, you guys are supposed to be automatically taking out these payments. I went in there and I looked and I said, the reason those stopped is because a couple months ago we had a return payment, so it stopped your automatic payments. He goes, oh, that account was hacked. And I go, no problem, but we need to make up these 2 payments that haven't come out. I'll set up the new automatic payments. I'll send you all the documents that you need, sign it, and get it back. And it was just boom, 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 boom. I got the payment, sent out the automatic ACH documents for him to sign and return, and I was done. So looking at an account that's basically dead and turning it into a resolution was a result of good skip tracing. So that's a good lesson learned. So one thing I'm going to leave you guys with is no account is a bad account. Look at every account objectively. Look at ways that you can possibly resolve the account. And like I said during the skip trace video that I did a couple months back, is don't leave any stones unturned, and don't assume that the information you have is valid and the only way to reach them. Because remember, I think I drew a stick figure with all kinds of different brackets showing different ways people can be contacted. These are all the different ways that you can contact somebody. So keep that in mind. All right, guys, that's it for today. I will talk to you again soon. Remember, like and subscribe, set goals, make that money. I'll see you guys later.
I got it. At first it was hard. Nobody believed me. Ever since then, I'm making it clear. This my year. This my year. I hustle in the dark with a bright my head. Get the bright idea.